Welcome to Switched On Schoolhouse American Literature. In this half-credit high school language arts elective, your students will study units that cover 5 periods in American literature: Early American Literature, the Romantic Period, War and Reconciliation, the Modern Age, and From Modern to Postmodern. As students study each period, they will consider the history of the period and how historical events influenced the authors and poets of the period. Students will take a look at a collection of the period's authors and poets, paying close attention to the background, influencing factors, and significant works from each author. Excerpts taken from each author's collection of work are included in the lessons. Not intended to be a comprehensive literature course, this Alpha Omega literature course provides a thorough overview of the significant periods and writers of American literature. Now let's take a look at an American literature lesson. In a unit entitled War and Reconciliation, let's look at a lesson called Samuel Langhorne Clemens, Mark Twain. Most lessons begin with a brief introduction and a list of goals or objectives for the lesson. These objectives help students stay focused on important lesson content and provide parents with an effective way to measure mastery of lesson content. The goals for this lesson include: gain an overview of the circumstances and movements that led to the Civil War. Identify the religious motivations for abolition. Identify the influences of Darwin's theory of evolution on society and religion. And recognize the relationship between naturalism and evolution. After this introductory material, your student moves independently through the lesson, reading the text-based instruction and utilizing the multimedia features that have been provided. Several helpful tools have been included in Alpha Omega homeschool courses to enhance your students' learning environment and to promote greater understanding for students with a variety of learning styles. Auditory learners may benefit from hearing text read aloud as they follow along. Students select a portion of text and utilize the text-to-speech tool to read the text. A number of customization options allow students to personalize their use of the text-to-speech feature. A highlighting feature allows students to use highlighter colors to highlight important text in the lesson as they study. Highlighted portions are saved when a student leaves the lesson, making it possible for them to come back later to study the highlighted passages. As children study, it's important that they understand that what they're learning fits into a timeline of history. Any linked date or major event within the text of the lesson provides access to an interactive timeline. The timeline provides information about great civilizations, historical eras, significant events, and persons from history. After completing the first section of lesson text, the student moves on to the next section, which provides an excerpt from the author's body of work. In this lesson on Mark Twain, your student will read an excerpt from The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. A What to Look For box at the top of the page helps guide your student as he studies the excerpt. This introduction provides students with suggestions as to how the work should be studied and interpreted. At the end of the lesson, your student is presented with a series of questions that provide a review of lesson content. If the lesson contains multiple sections, after completing section 1, the student continues to the next section, reading the text-based instruction and answering the remaining questions. Questions are presented in a variety of formats. Answers are automatically saved as the student works through the questions, with 85 to 90% of student work being graded immediately by the program.
Correct.
A student is given the opportunity to reattempt questions that were answered incorrectly the first time through the lesson. The lesson is complete when the student has answered all questions correctly or has exhausted his allowed attempts.